you're going to give all of your attention and respect that you give to me to Xander for the next 30 minutes.
30 minutes? It's a 30-minute presentation.
Well, that was the time limit Miss Knight gave me,
Yes.
roughly.
I said
I'll
no
try to make it faster. It depends if you guys interact and have questions. So obviously, I know Haley, I know Sam, the rest of you are relatively new, so I got questions, I'll get to know you guys. This is data, specifically data science. This is actually for my final of my Intro to Data Science course. It's a brand new course, it's on eCore through the college system. It's literally like the first year that they're offering it, so that's cool. But yeah, I chose business analyst as my title because I can go for a bunch of different things, but that seems the most well-rounded. So I'm Xander. Exactly 1 year ago, I was actually, well, not in these exact seats, I was over in the 100 Hall, but I was doing the same thing you were doing. Basically just grinding it out. In here, got a 90, got a 5 on the test. All around good year actually, and I graduated a year early, and now I live on Southern, kind of nerd. So yeah, that's me. Next slide. A little more about me. Picture right here, this is actually Luke Roberts, probably some of y'all know him. That was the exact, the final day of school for us, last day that we had to show up, and I remember specifically that day, Luke was like, hey, I gotta do these assignments for Miss Knight, otherwise I'm not gonna get a 90. So we all pulled together, we were in, I think it was Miss Compton's room at the time, at the beginning of the day, and we all did these FRQs with him, and he got his 90. But as for me, I'm very, very academic. I chose that over sports. GPA, pretty much perfect. Hope says it's a 3.8, but no one cares about what they think. I did 6 AP classes while I was here. The standard ones for sophomore. I didn't take any as a freshman. Junior year, Lang, both histories. Chemistry, didn't take physics. Maybe I should have, but I went with taking biology in college anyway, so that's fine. Sports, I wrestled here, wasn't that great at it. The guy in my weight class was way better. I played soccer as well, and I do a little bit of volleyball here and there. Passions, I go to church, obviously actually multiple times a week at Compassion. I help middle schoolers there, I teach them. I have my own little group of 8th graders, they're great. They drive me crazy sometimes, but they're basically knowledge sponges, so I love pouring into them. As well as chess, which is kind of weird, chess and video games. I play the heck out of chess. Basically, it's like everyday thing. Plans, I'm, business analyst. My major is data science and information systems, so specifically analyzing data, making business decisions with that data, also collecting data and managing it. But more on the techie side, kind of nerdy, and a little more specified than your general business, finance, accounting degrees. So I got 5 opening questions here that we're going to kind of focus on. What do we think data science is?
The science of data.
The science of data, great answer, Haley. Anybody else? No? Cool. So textbook definition is just the process of collecting, processing, managing data for specifically bulk data for business decisions in the realm of technology. It combines the 2 big aspects of just advanced mathematics and technology into kind of just huge databases and algorithms to process that data and manage it and also draw conclusions from it. Does anybody in here think they're going to use data science or statistics or any advanced math in their future? Occupationally, what you guys say?
Research.
Research? What kind of research?
I want to go into microbiology.
Microbiology.
So compiling different sequences of DNA and stuff that has to do with data analysis.
For sure, and that's in the sciences. Data science actually, it's called a science because it has that same sort of scientific method. Is that you generate a hypothesis, do your experiments, you collect your data, that's what we work with, and you reach conclusions from that data. Anybody else? Any other plans of statistics in the future? No? Okay, cool. Just me and Sam. Does anybody think that they will? Not that they want to, that they just will out of necessity? Maybe? I mean, everybody says you need math in your future. Not by their being around, because we always bash that, but every teacher's like, hey, you're going to actually use math at some point, which is absolutely true. I haven't found an occupation where you don't use math. I'm a cashier. Currently, that's basically my stable job right now. Cashier Publix, and obviously that's math. Why is it science? I touched on that. It specifically uses the scientific method. We're in obviously the data sphere. Collecting that data, seeing what to do with it and generating basically off the data and how we present that data, what to do for the business or how to reach certain clientele or how to cut costs effectively. So data science can actually be applied to every other sector of business. You don't just have marketing, you also have logistics, specifically obviously the finance aspect of it too, to manage costs, but it's kind of supplementary to all the other forms of business. And I have down here in requirements, it's ranging on terms of like what you actually want to do. You can go straight from your diploma into entry-level data jobs. There's data entry, there's copywriting, stuff like that. Obviously, those aren't the big, huge six-figure jobs that you would probably think of when you think of a business degree. But that's the point, is that you don't have the business degree quite yet. And so you just go with those sorts of entry-level jobs, and those give you exposure into the bigger ones as you get, your either degrees or certifications. So I've broken it up into 3 tiers, basically, of sort of data science jobs. If you make this a career, you'll go through these 3, unless you stop at 1 or 2. Level 1, entry level, you either have a diploma or you do some online courses. You definitely have to learn some stuff. SQL and Python, 2 very big programming languages. We used programs that manage the data and process it for us, because when you're dealing with thousands of data entries, obviously you don't want to do all that by hand. You will all have TI-84s. Imagine trying to input literally thousands of them into a graph to analyze them on your TI-84. No one wants to do that, so you might as well program something to do it for you. That you can do basically the second you all graduate. You get your degree, you're 18. You can even do it before then. If you have the right connections, you find somebody with a small business out here that needs that sort of service, you can definitely offer it to them. That's kind of like freelance or anything. You do need to have general knowledge of business and how that programming kind of stuff works. Middle ground, that's where I'm heading. That's what I'm trying to get to. Actually, I'm trying to get high ground. We're on middle ground. That's your undergraduate degrees. So you can do, there's computer science, there's data science, but there's also, you can cross-train. You can go specifically towards technology, you can go specifically towards math, and then kind of meet in the middle. That's going to be with or without certifications. That's just your bachelor's degree. Bachelor's degree is kind of just your entry level. That's what most people in the field of data science have. And with or without certain certifications that make them a little more credible and much more specialized. And then number 3 is your high ground. These are the cool kids. They have their master's, doctorate degrees, and they almost certainly have some sort of certifications. I'll talk about this a bit later, but these are the guys that are really taking it seriously. They want to make a career out of it. And once you get to the high ground, you're easily 6 figures, pretty much anywhere you go. So for entry level, I broke it up. We have kind of 2 sectors of entry level jobs. Data entry is basically, it's literally just entering data. Say you take like just a sheet of raw data and you're just typing it into some database like Excel. Those sorts of jobs, because of their simplicity, if you know what you're doing, they do have remote opportunities. That's great for people like you going into college if you don't want to have to drive for work half an hour away or somewhere. And there's still good paying jobs. Doritos, nice. There's still good paying jobs. Obviously better than an average cashier. But you can do those online. Beware scams. I know there's some of those. I wanted to mention copywriting. It's kind of in there with data science. It's not going to give you much experience into the actual actual data science once you get down the line, but it's the same sort of field of, you have text and then you're transferring it from either a written source or whatever into a database kind of source. And it's an easy starter because, like I said, there's not really anything you need to start except your own little head knowledge, which you can easily teach yourself. And it gives you sort of great experience into the base level of what you're going to be doing. And if you keep continuing on with it, you're going to know exactly what the people that work under you are doing. So I think it's a great place to start in any field, actually, not just data science. Knowing what the people you're managing do makes you much better as an manager. Other side, we have internships. I also kind of wanted to sneak personal assistants in there as well, because I know a lot of the big guys, C-suite people that need people that do this. And that's all around. It's not just a data science degree or anything, or that field. It's if you can be a personal assistant for like a business owner, help manage their own data, help manage schedules and stuff like that. It's great exposure. Amazing networking as well. That's the private sort of area of that. Institutional as well. I looked up on Georgia Southern. There's currently 5 data science related positions for students open. Those are great because not only you get paid, but you're also like at school once you get into college, and you can pretty much do whatever you want with that, and it's also paid, and it also sometimes has perks. The perks mostly come on the private side because if you are a PA of like a CEO or CFO, then chances are you're gonna have like the best network ever as a young guy or a young girl. You're gonna know all these high class people. You're gonna have great experience in what the actual pace of life is in that sort of field, and you're absolutely gonna have great experience going into it yourself. Here in the middle ground, I've got 5 jobs that are actually currently like up for grabs. Found on Indeed and ZipRecruiter and stuff, and on their own websites. So for Prospect Blue, has anybody heard of Prospect Blue? No, maybe not. Okay, but it's just a company. You can be a finance analyst for them. They want basically a BBA. Everybody knows business degrees. BBA, Bachelor's of Business Administration. It's different from like Bachelor's of Science, Bachelor's of Arts. It's specifically it's the 4-year degree term for business. It's its own little fancy little title, 3 letters instead of 2. So BBA, Bachelor's of Business Administration for Finance, Accounting, or Data Science. It's going to want you to have 3 to 5 years of experience, which a lot of these will have at least some sort of experience, which is why you do want to start in the entry level sort of positions, just so you know what you're doing on the base level of typing data in or whatever, dealing with it. It's full time and it'll give you mid 60K. Absolutely no problem with that. It's a little high on experience, but it doesn't require any certifications, and it's just a 4-year degree. And I think if we could all hop into a 60K job cranking out of college, we would. So you can work for Target. Found that one on the Target website. I thought of it because I had worked at Target previously. You can be a field labor analyst with any business degree. Only need 2 years of experience, and it can be part or full time. This one's flexible, and you can get 16 to 22 an hour. Right, so it's kind of a little on the cheaper end. Usually, like the exchange rates, if you were to convert salary into hourly, it's more 30, 40, 50 or higher. But this is kind of on the border between middle and entry of there's not much experience required, no certifications, and it's also a very flexible job. You're not actually committing to a full-time sort of career at that time, so it's sort of like an in-between almost if you wanted to get yourself some experience and then try to get a better job in the future after you have some experience from that job. Robert Half, it's an agency dealing with personal finance and such. You can be an entry-level investment analyst there. Any business degree again. This one had this fancy little note. You don't have to have any experience with this one. So you can freshly graduate, say if you were graduating college this year, you get your degree, you can hop into that job straight away, 45K full time. I think that's great. I think it's a great place to start. Basically having a degree without any experience, I feel like it's very common. There's a lot of people that just get their degree without working. And so I think that's basically where you get your exposure from, that's where you get your experience. You are committing to full time, but that's under the assumption that you're out of school or you're doing school on the side if you're going for your master's degree. And then there's IQ's consulting. You could be an IT business analyst. With any business degree, you need 3 years of experience, but it's also higher paying. It's 35 to 45 an hour, depending on experience, certifications. And then it's a contract position. So what that means specifically is that it's going to be in the short term. It's going to be, basically you're going to be working on a project or projects, and then after those projects are done, you're basically cut free. I think that's actually probably like the best sort of option if you want flexibility, because you're going to be, kind of on the grind with a specific team for a confined amount of time, a defined amount of time, or at least until these projects get done. And then, you're making great money, and you're doing some networking because you know people, you're working with people that do the same thing you do, and you're also going to have that on your resume as, hey man, I did this project back here, I developed this software for IQs and helped them profit this amount of margin at this kind of margin. So, great flexibility for that. I have here some very common certifications. There's obviously many more than 4, but these are kind of 4 ones that definitely pertain to the data science / business world. You actually might have heard of some of these because they're very popular. The OCP is the Oracle Certified Professional. It's Oracle itself is a cloud-based data software. It's very popular. Companies will have different preferences of which software you're now eligible in for data management. Obviously, the go-to for you guys is probably Microsoft Excel or Access, but Oracle is definitely up there in terms of popularity. So you get this little certification, it kind of shows that you know what you're doing with that. And PMP is probably, if you were to know one of these, it'd be that one. Project Management Professional. It's one of the most well-rounded and most sought-after ones, but it also requires you to take courses on the side, like additional courses to get that sort of certification. So it's sort of almost like a set of classes or like a minor, I guess you could say. But it's very strenuous to get, very competitive, and it also is very sought after for that reason. So it just shows that you're a great leader, great manager, and that helps you get up the corporate ladder if you're trying to go that route. Over here we got CBAP. That's the Certified Business Analyst Professional. I think that's the most honed in and applicable to my sort of situation, the situation of advertising, data science, and business analytics, as in the name. It's just specifically around that concept of seeing what business needs and finding how to get them what it needs and how to fix what it's doing wrong, how to add to that. It's obviously a lot more specific than the PMP, but for that reason it's also very high demand as well in that specific niche. We have the CSD as well, a little less common. Does anybody know what Scrum is at all? Probably not. Cool. So the CSD, Certified Scrum Developer, Scrum is, it's a methodology. It's not like a coding language or anything like you might think. It's a methodology. It's kind of a way of thinking about how to approach these problems, and it's sort of like its own scientific process. You can think of it that way. It's kind of like what is it? Honda? Honda does Kaizen. Is it the Honda term? Kaizen. It's a Japanese term meaning basically constant growth, and it's the automobile's motto of not being basically invincible but unstoppable. So constant growth. Same sort of idea is that you're making incremental steps towards your goal. So that specific certification just shows you've mastered the Scrum system. And then we get up here to the high ground. These are the big boy jobs. I looked up just two big ones that I thought you would probably know the companies for. Everybody knows Daniel Defense, Gulfstream? Yes, no, maybe? Anybody never heard of them?
I know Gulfstream's not that on defense.
They make
Guns
and
Yes.
cooler.
Yeah, so a lot of people get their, not just guns, but also merchandise, of course. And it does have a handful of, a lot of jobs, a lot of engineering going on there. So for Daniel Defense, you can be a data science engineer. You're going to need SQL, Snowflake, and Python coding languages. You're going to need to have business intelligence and IT analysis skills. DTC e-commerce experience, so you're going to be working within specifically how to get the customer their guns, or finding out what gun they want. You need a bachelor's in data or comp sci, plus a master's degree and 5 years experience, or a doctoral degree and 3 years of experience. It's a commonality to offer that sort of leeway or that alleviation of the experience sort of qualification, just because if you're getting your doctorate degree, that's going to take a year or two of your entire focus. I mean, it's not easy to get a doctorate degree, and by no means can you do that on the side like you could a bachelor's degree. So they do kind of waive years of experience for that. Gulfstream, you can be a data analyst. You have to be certified in Agile. Scrum, Agile is kind of like the counterpart. Actually, they go hand in hand more often than not in terms of just methodologies and sort of kind of like a discipline almost of the expertise. You need to obviously know Microsoft Office. You'll have Chromebooks, so you might not do too much in Microsoft Office quite yet. I actually found that to be a very large limitation of this school, which I didn't know until I got to college. I'm like, hey man, why don't you know how to use Microsoft Word? I'm like, oh man, I'm Google Docs all the way. But you definitely make that switch, at least for the near future. If some huge company comes up with the same thing but better, we'll switch. But as of right now, you need to either be certified by Microsoft themselves in their own softwares, or just have proved that you have the knowledge of that. And it's not just Microsoft that does that. There's also Tesla as well. Tesla has certification, so does Google. I'm sure you've probably heard of Google's own courses. They just offer basically different trainings that you could take to kind of supplement your skills in this field. Excel, that's your basically your data sheets. Access is your databases. SharePoint is sharing data. Microsoft Teams, basically Zoom. Oracle and SQL, mentioned Oracle earlier. SQL, coding language, so those are preferred. And when they say preferred on like a professional sort of requirement for a job, it's basically mandatory if you want to actually get the job. Because sure, you could throw your application and be considered, but then you're going to find some guy who has 10 years of experience, master all these coding languages, and he's going to blow you out of the park. Totally get the job. So when they say preferred, think of it as basically mandatory, otherwise you're not competitive. For Gulfstream, you need a master's degree, 3 years experience, or a doctorate degree and 2 years experience. Who wants to know which one pays more? Actually, let's take guesses. How much do you think they each pay? Either one, you can guess either one.
I think I would say Daniel Defense gets paid more just because you have to have more years of experience.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's got engineer tacked onto the back.
Yeah, they do that. They do that actually. The term engineer or analyst, they kind of just throw that on depending on what sector of business you're in or like what you're selling and what product it is. It's not that you're engineering, obviously, programs, but it's not, engineering isn't like physics or building or material or anything. It's nice, so Daniel Defense probably pays more. According to the websites, that actually depends. Daniel Defense is 108K starting plus bonuses. And bonuses for these types of jobs are like 5 figures, so you can easily boost that into, 125K. Gulfstream's 109. So there's a 1K base difference and plus bonuses. So it honestly depends on which company's better at bonuses, but once you get to the high ground, obviously, like I said, there's nothing that's going to really be starting below 6 figures in terms of, because I mean, if you had all this, you're obviously going to want 6 figures. You're not going to settle for anything below that magical societal landmark of income.
Now, is this like most other like jobs where you actually get to negotiate your pay, or is it kind of like a set?
Yeah, I mean, well, once you do get to the high ground, what you usually see is you'll see networking plays a huge sort of, representation of who you are, because say you apply to Daniel Defense and you just so happen to know Daniel, Daniel still exists, but if you know Daniel, right, and you apply for this, and some guy, exact same everything, literally copy-paste resume, does the same thing, but he doesn't know Daniel, well, Daniel's going to say, hey, I worked for this guy, or with this guy for 10 years, I'm going to take my guy as opposed to random Joe over here, even though they're the exact same. And that'll even provide some leverage as well. Maybe you are a little bit younger or newer than the older applicant who's a little more experienced, but just because you've worked with the big guys before, they're going to say, hey, I liked what this guy did on this one project 2 years ago. I'm going to take him in because he was pretty smart, pretty intuitive, had a great idea for that project. So yeah, you can absolutely negotiate your pay here, most likely because you're going to know the people you're talking to, or at least you're going to know people that know them. That's all that sort of networking comes from, just the experience of it and the working in this sort of niche, because it is very specific in terms of, there's it's not the accounting. Everybody wanted to be an accountant. Accountants degrees are flooded right now. No one is hiring accountants because there's too many of them. Obviously, we still need accountants, but as people realize, hey, there's a need for this, it seems like every graduating class sort of floods towards that. So this actually is safe from that sort of phenomenon of people flooding whatever is needed at the time and not thinking long term. It's not like it's not going to grow, it's absolutely going to grow. But it's also just more safe in terms of, no one's going to do the absolute most to learn 3 different coding languages. At least most people wouldn't, unless they're going to actually be serious about it. So, but yeah, pay's negotiable. I wanted to sneak this in here for a little personal touch. Allie over there, my girlfriend, personal assistant, whatever you want to call her. This is her dad. He's got the PMP certification, as aforementioned. He works for Gulfstream. He's in new product development. I have been in his house multiple times. I've seen him run. I've seen him make keto food. He basically didn't really finish high school, kind of did. He got kicked out of the house young, joined the Marines, got out of the Marines, said, hey, I'm going to go work at Gulfstream. He's been at Gulfstream, he's 50, in his mid-50s now. He's worked at Gulfstream for, a good maybe 10, 20 years. So he's put some serious effort into it, but that's been his only sort of job in this sort of sector. He's had, jobs before, but those are basically just, low-tier jobs that nobody with a degree wants. He didn't actually originally have his degree. He was working at Gulfstream, and they said, hey man, we want to bump you up, but you're going to need a degree for it. So he got his degree specifically to promote in Gulfstream. Now, obviously, there's a very successful guy that's kind of an outdated picture, but I just pulled it off of LinkedIn. there's only one of him for the entire company. So he flies every week, gets to go meet with the CEO and whatnot on a plane, private jet. He's talked to me about hey, I just heard Kim K bought Oak Street. Wow, that's cool, stuff like that. Dealing with huge names like that, and all he actually has is a bachelor's degree. So the fact that he spent so much time in there and built up such a huge network, he only has a bachelor's degree. But I mean, once you've had that much experience, you also kind of just know what you're doing. And he's not specifically data science, but I'm sure he absolutely uses it in his new product development, gathering data on what's needed or what we need to change, what we need to do for the next plane. But he easily makes in the 200K with only a bachelor's degree and obviously a successful family, beautiful daughter.
Personal assistant.
Huh?
Personal assistant.
Yeah, beautiful personal assistant for me. But I mean, you can do the same. Obviously, I hope you don't get kicked out of the house or anything. If you say you only want to get your bachelor's degree, well, you can do it with time. Obviously, he's a very wealthy man. So
That it?
that is not it. I wish it was it. I'm just kidding. So this is kind of our our wrap up slide. Your true potential in data science. Data science here. This is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They say that between all the different fancy titles, because you can be a business analyst or a data science, whatever. Between all the titles, there's hundreds of thousands of jobs currently being held and or on the market, with 30% projected growth in the next decade. So 30 to 40. So it's one of the, business analytics is the fastest growing sector of job that there is currently, followed I think closely by medicine. And as for the different niche titles, it doesn't really matter until you get more specialized, because you can take pretty much any bachelor's degree and then go into this, and then if you're actually going to follow it, you can go and get your master's in comp sci or whatever you need to do. For salary and ROI, the median salary is literally right at 100,000 for all of everything of these jobs. So, and that's median too, not mean. I'm sure you all know all about that. Sure, Miss Knight's burn that into your brains. So it's a very great representation of the fact that you spend the same amount of time, 4 years getting a degree, and then you hop into a six-figure job, at least once you get down the line a little bit, maybe you're not going to come straight out of college in 6 figures, but maybe with a couple raises, maybe a couple years of experience, you will. And it's obviously the same 4 years, but the ROI is much higher because anybody in art at all? Anybody in art degrees? Okay.
Art, close enough, I guess.
What, theater?
Yeah, performing arts and tattooing.
That's cool with that. If you're getting a painting degree, right? Same 4 years, same tuition, same college. Let's be for real. If you're not gonna be making six figures, your ROI is gonna go way down. You might have student debt. Don't want to stereotype, but it's not as lucrative or as growing or as necessary as the world of business is. I don't want to say don't follow your dreams, but practicality says that business is one of the big ways to go. I'm not saying everybody has to go business. You can do medicine, you can do whatever you want. But business is fastest growing as an ideal sector. And then for I got top dog job section, obviously Mr. Ray. He's definitely hit that. He's not quite C-suite yet. Everybody knows the term C-suite. No, it's basically the blob of executives. So CFO, CEO, COO, all the C something O's basically. All the fancy, the jobs you think of when you think of the guy that's at the top. Unless you think of Warren Buffett and you're an investor like me, in which case you're cool and also a nerd. But yeah, these guys, they have the highest tier of jobs, so you can definitely join them if you want to go up there. If you have your doctorates, sure, you can even do it with master's, bachelor's apparently. But you also can be a professor as well. Most people that get doctorates in the field become professors just because they're so infatuated with it. So, if that's where you want to go, sure. I've had professors really admit to me that, hey, I specifically did this knowing that I wouldn't get paid as much as I could elsewhere, but I did it because I love, the actual discipline and the knowledge of this. So, if that's your passion of, this sort of field of knowledge, then great for you. But you can be a CDO, that's a chief data officer, a CIO, a chief information officer. They, are just the same as any other in the C-suite. They have their own little sector, and they also make loads of money. So that's all I got. That's my conclusion. Those are all my sources. improperly cited.
Alright.
Do we have any questions?